being held in compliance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975 CH 231. That's what we usually say. It was properly noticed and has been posted and certified by the clerk. Can I have a roll call?
Mr. Bongiovanni.
Here.
Mr. Falcone. Ms. Johnson. Mr. Kusivik.
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Glate.
Here. If you will stand and join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so we are moving on to the 2026 municipal budget for discussion. Everybody received the budget over the weekend to take a look at. Ron, what do you want to do as the best way to handle this?
Well, I think what I'd like to do is Judy and Ray have been completely intimate with the budget since the end of last year, working into what we have in front of us. So I'm gonna ask Judy to kind of kick it off and give the philosophy of what we've done so far, what work needs to be done, and Ray will be here. He said sometime right after 6:30. So I think he'll take the lead on it after that, Mayor, and kind of get us all up to speed on what this budget is, what we need to do to work on it, and also what's going on in the rest of the world as well.
Sure.
It's a lot going on in the state of New Jersey right now. We're unfortunately in the mix of it as well. So if that's okay with the board, I'll let Judy kick it off and go from there.
Sure.
Should I come up here or?
Sure, whatever works best for you.
Just one in. One? Oh, I gotta sworn in. Judith Carbon, CFO. I'm sorry, my back is to you. Can everybody hear me okay? As Ron was saying, we've been working on this budget probably since before Ron started. And it's a little bit rough because we had a 36% increase in state health benefits. And currently, I would say, even while Shelby was here, we were working to reduce that. Ron and I did a lot of work with that. We have spoken to, I couldn't tell you how many countless brokers right now, Ron. We're looking to reduce that, but I did put 36% in there just in case, because we'll hopefully take it out and to get a new plan, but we don't know. So we were able to cover that. We were able to cover all the contractual increases. And you know, we have different unions. We were able to cover all that, okay? We had an increase in garbage, an increase in tipping fees. Given all that, and I was able to meet everyone's requests, including capital and other expenditures. So when you do the budget, you have what they call a levy cap, which is a tax levy cap, and a budget appropriation cap. We had met both sides, except for the appropriations had to be reduced by $40,000. It's not a lot of money, given the fact that we had such big increases. So what I did was basically each department had to share that $40,000 reduction. I don't know if you have any particular questions. I don't know if you got to look at the capital side or the O&E or the S&W. I don't know if you want to look at any of that stuff. That's up to you. I don't know if you want to start with capital or whatever.
I had a question regarding the paving of the streets, and I guess Ron just answered it before. But we're gonna take them out of the capital and then until we could confirm which street needs to be paved.
Right, exactly.
Also with the-
Yes, this is preliminary, this is a very small portion of it, but also we have a lot of money left in older ordinances because we did not do all the paving last year. Part of the reason was that I believe the co-ops really didn't even have the asphalt to deliver to us last year.
But we have new money in paving the.
We do have new money into paving, yes. But we were given a paving schedule from John Ruskey, and that includes all the possible streets that we could. And we don't have to do them all, so it depends upon where you want to fall as far as tax rate, expenditures, down payment, so on and so forth.
So I think right out of the gate, what we would do is take those roads that we know with the gas company is going to be paving because of that effort. I would take them out of that.
Okay.
That's the first whack of that.
So can we identify what roads those
We'll have
are?
to do that.
Okay.
That's a,
Yeah, well, I mean,
And then
and then there's Ray.
And then
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
DPW has the work document, right, that has the grading scale too. So aside from removing the roads that are part of the gas project, we can look at
Yeah.
grading of the roads to see which ones
Yeah,
really are
that's-
in dire need.
That is true. Drusky had a handful of roads that he said we really should pave just because it's been so long.
Right.
And it may not be in the gas schedule for the next phase.
Mhm.
So we may want to consider that, and I'll identify those and I'll take all of them out and we'll put those in. And we'll see what the overall effect of that would be.
Right, okay.
You probably see all the roads are listed. I guess you would be familiar with all those roads. I just listed them all. I just figured let's list them all and then we could start.
So how'd you come up with the fees for those roads? Did somebody give you those numbers?
John Rutsky gave me a schedule.
They did, okay.
Yeah.
And my other question would be for the enterprise vehicle lease. On one item says 546,000, another item says 420. And then we have a replacement vehicle of 63,000 for OEM.
Right, because OEM, they weren't going, they didn't want to go to enterprise, they wanted to buy one. And the other two are separated out between DPW and police on the enterprise lease.
So they decided they want a new vehicle or we decided they get a new vehicle?
That's
We
the-
haven't purchased a new.
We haven't
police vehicle
purchased, no,
in 2
right.
budgets, because we knew that we were going towards the leasing program. Between the police and the administrator and, I believe it was DPW also, the, legwork was done as to what actually works out best for us. And the leasing program in the long run is the direction everybody is going with these programs, with police cars and whatnot, to where it works out, to be less investment for us and less when it comes to, having to, handle vehicles after they get to a certain point, because as
So-
you know, our vehicles, when they're police vehicles, they have a lot of use and they sit at the same time.
So is the value 420 or is the value 546?
See what page you're looking at.
There's-
so we can flip.
They shoot 40B.
There should be two separate ones. There should be one for. There should be one for police for 420 and one for DPW for 546. They're separate. They're separate
Oh,
leases.
so it's over $1 million?
Yes,
That's
Yeah.
not what we sold last year. With
Yes.
administrator, because the spending $1 million, I don't
Yeah.
think that's a savings.
Yeah, and I think,
yeah, but that's over a 5-year period. That's over a 5-year period.
And is is it still where PD would be getting 2 cars a year out of that with that lease schedule?
I think they might be at 4 cars, maybe, I believe. I think they might, I mean, I could double check. I think they might be at 4, and I think the DPW might be at 5.
Overall or per year? Overall,
No, well, they'll probably be getting them this year. They'll
no,
probably-
but I'm saying, is it every year or is it?
Oh, no, that's
overall?
that's overall. Yeah, that's overall. That's overall.
I'm sorry, Judy, say that one more time. So PD is 4 and.
I think it's 4 and 5, but I could double check for you.
Okay, and what was DPW?
I think it was 5.
For the sake of Ray's time,
Hi, Ray.
are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. I have some handouts for you guys.
So the one you gave us, they're not good handouts?
Oh, it's separate or?
Yeah, so they should stay together, so both those pages should stay together.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get a chance to think of these, those late.
These are that one.
This looks familiar.
No, I gave one to Anthony. And then actually, do you mind throwing one in Joe's spot? I don't know if he's showing up or not, but I'll take one more. Thank you.
So let's start, this is the balance sheet of the current operating fund right now. So I'm gonna start with, we do not have cash reconciliations yet. So I have proven out to the best of my ability, your current operating fund based on the information that is in the system. And based on everything that I know, I think the cash is off roughly $160,000. So there could be some fluctuation in these numbers between now and when we complete the audit. So starting off, the very first number, the 6.8 at the top of the page, I know that number is wrong. We're working on figuring out why, but that's where we're at. So what will change in all of that is more than likely the fund balance, which is on the next page. So if our cash is high by $160,000, more than likely our fund balance will be reduced $160,000. All right, we always talk about fund balance is a very important number. It's the financial health of the municipality, like retained earnings in a business. Fund balance is what we have left at the end of the day after all of our operations have ceased, gives us an idea of, are we doing okay financially? So you'll see that right now, we went from 5.395 in fund balance to 5.15, which will more than likely be just about 5 million even once we figure everything out. So the fund balance is still decreasing, but it's decreasing at a much slower rate, and we still have a healthy amount of fund balance. So that to me tells us that our budgeting trends are headed in a better direction. We dropped $1 million last year. We're probably going to drop about 400,000 this year. So that's half of what we dropped last year. And that's what we want to do, right? We want to have a controlled descent. Our fund balance was too high for a period of time. We're trying to get it to a place where it's sustainable, manageable, and in the right place for the size of the municipality that we are.
And what is that number? We're.
So you want to be about 20% of your operation, which is, you're around 19 million.
So that'd be about 4 million then, 3.8.
People always think accountants are good at mental math, but I always have a calculator, always. Yeah, 3.835 would be the goal number.
So.
And that's like the lowest we want to go.
Want to go.
So we're in a controlling the descent now,
Good, all right.
I think, and I'm hopeful for it. So that's where we are. I will tell you, things are very fluid until we have a good cash number. You know, we're not really gonna 100% know where we're at. So with that.
Well, while he's looking for that, didn't we hire a company to do our reconciliations?
We're still dealing with that.
This is one per person?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay, I can keep it, I'll keep the whole packet together. Yep, sorry. Same thing as last time.
Sorry.
Sure, what we're doing here.
Yep. Sorry, I just took it and passed it down. Ron, you need that, right? Thank you.
More like reading.
Yeah.
So this, what I gave you is the expenditure side of the budget. I didn't want to give you the whole budget, which is 100 pages and probably would have been pretty overwhelming. So I just want to talk about the expenditure side of the budget. And then we'll talk, and then I have a sheet here that summarizes the budget as a whole. So you know what? Yeah, let me get that out. Okay, so Judy and Ron have done a tremendous amount of work on the appropriations side of the budget, which is, as you know, an area of the budget where I do not spend a lot of time because those are policy decisions. I'm your independent auditor, so I do not make policy decisions. I help guide you what those decisions mean, how they're going to affect you financially, and all that good stuff. But the policy decisions are really up to you guys and up to the administration to get you the information to know that the information that you are getting is good, and then you can make those policy decisions. I try and help you on what those decisions mean for the future, and also, you know, I try and help guide you on the revenues, the amount of fund balance usage, again, so we hopefully can stay in good financial stead. So, you know, I spent a lot of time looking at the expenditure side once Judy and Ron did their work on things to make sure that you know, where we're headed based on where we've been is a good thing. So I would say that the two areas that are affecting you the most are areas that either have been affecting people for the last few years or are affecting people this year. And so the number one thing that's happening this year is health benefits. So I'm sure most of you know, maybe not everybody, state health benefit plan had a 36% increase across the board to all municipalities. So 36% is the increase that anybody in the state health benefit plan, they were paying premiums last year, they're going to be paying 36% more. Across the board, even private plans, joint insurance funds, health insurance funds, the lowest increase I saw where a municipality did not change insurance carriers was about 20%. So health insurance in general is increasing dramatically, right? So even if you're, you know, we're in a private plan, that plan still went up 20% this year for a lot of municipalities. I had one municipality change health insurance carriers, and they did actually a pretty good job on their health insurance increase for the year. So, you know, overall, that's having a tremendous effect on everybody's budgets. Most of the tax increases I've seen this year have been higher than what most municipalities want them to be, because that is a contractual mandate, right? You have employees, you have to pay for their health insurance. Whatever that increase is from your insurance carrier is what you have to pay. So for Hopatcong, it actually gets divided into two places. So at first, it doesn't seem that bad, but if you go to sheet,
Before you go, do you have copies for James? Please.
Oh, thanks, Tom. I was listening.
Yeah, just pass some picture.
I have this copy. I'll have to get you another copy of the other, but that's what we're
Do you want to
talking
give
about.
a bow? You just wrote notes on
No, it's the other,
Oh, so not this.
the other thing that I made copies of didn't, actually, let's probably take this one. I don't have anything to talk about, but.
I can go make copies.
One's for Joe too.
Oh, Joe's not here?
I'm too short. So
Just, thank
I'll go budget in half.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how we do it.
That's one of my tricks.
you.
So if we go to sheet 14. So on sheet 14, about halfway down this page, we see employee group health. The current year that's budgeted is 1,710,000. And the prior year is 1,635,000, which doesn't seem like that bad of an increase, because thankfully the state has allowed you to budget some of your expenses inside cap and some of them outside cap. So for those that don't know what I'm talking about, there is an appropriation cap. Your expenses cannot increase more than 3.5% within that cap. Within that cap is your general operating expenses. Outside of that cap are things like shared service agreements, your capital expenses, and your debt service. the reason those are outside, right, is because a financial institution doesn't want a law that would not allow you to pay back debt. So the state understood that when they created this law, so they allowed something like debt to be outside of that. But what they're trying to do is limit how much can be increased every year by limiting how much your operations can increase, which is 3.5%. They do allow you a small exception though for health insurance, because again, a health insurance company doesn't want a law that means that a municipality won't be able to pay for health insurance. So while there's a certain amount inside, if you go to sheet 20, there was also another $450,000 budgeted outside of the cap. So essentially what you have is something close to a $625,000 increase on that one line item. That's a lot.
Like 5%.
That's a lot. And that is what almost every municipality is experiencing, is a ton of increased pressure on your tax levy because health insurance is dramatically increasing to all towns. So that's a big number. Another thing that a lot of municipalities have been experiencing over the last several years is increases in their garbage contracts. I think in 2023, the average increase for a garbage contract was 75%. So right now, your garbage contract is on a fiscal year basis. So it's from July to June, and it splits 2 years. So when your garbage contract was settled in 24, there wasn't that big of an increase in the 24 budget because you were only paying the first half of the year on a increased contract. What that new contract also called for is that it didn't have a dramatic increase in the expense, but it took out the tipping fees. So the vendor was no longer going to be paying the tipping fees. You were going to be responsible for them. Those tipping fees are close to $500,000 a year, and that was not included in the contract. So when the 2025 budget was put together, things were very fluid at that time in here, and the 500,000 was not accounted for in the 25 budget. So this year we have to account for the $500,000 of tipping fees plus the increases in the garbage contract. So you're talking about another $500,000 of increase on the garbage contract. So between those two contractual obligations, your budget is increasing somewhere between $1 million and $1.1 million.
And then the other 300 is
Inflation,
right? Salaries,
Increase, yes.
wages.
So because, right, you're subject to that 3.5% cap, and because the garbage contract is so much, the health insurance it's confusing. 4.5% of the health insurance is inside the cap, so 1% more than your statutory allowed, which is 3.5%. Right now, the budget as it's been put together is maxed out on the 3.5% cap. So there is no room inside the cap, which is your general operating expenses, to spend any more money.
The $500,000 for the garbage, that's the tipping fees and the increase. So we don't have to pay the 2025 tipping fees. We paid those already.
Right.
Even though they weren't appropriated for.
So thankfully, when we put together the 25 budget, we were trying to put together a budget that had a sound fiscal long-term plan, which means you are planning for the worst and hoping for the best. And because we planned for the worst and the worst actually happened because there was a $500,000 expense that we were not prepared for, we were able to still pay for those costs, even though they were not contemplated at the budget. So again, that's what we're trying to do with this budget, is plan for the worst and hope for the best, and that creates a good, sound, long-term plan, helps our fund balance, hopefully stay in a controlled descent so that we can get it to a place that is right for the borough of Hopatcong.
And who controls the tipping fees? The garbage company or the state?
Yes, that,
Anyway.
anyway, yeah.
Do we know, I should come make the call on this one. Do we know when SCUMA revises their tipping fees?
I don't know that, no.
Either.
So that's why, I would caution you to look at the other portions of the budget and want to make cuts unless they were serious cuts of expense cuts and not just cutting the budget, but the expense is still there. Those two line items are bare bones, like they are budgeted for what you are going to spend exactly. So when I say like we're planning for the worst, and if something worse happens, those two line items, there's no room for error in them. So the rest of the budget, we need to make sure is planned for the worst case scenario. So, it would be very difficult for me to advise you to cut other portions of the budget, because we are trying, or at least I'm encouraging you to continue to see past just this year to the long-term financial plan, which again could be hurt by cutting too much and the fund balance not regenerating.
So Ray, with our contractual obligations being in here, that increase is where, so that we can show what that increase is?
The increase to those two
Like,
line items?
Those two items, but we have our increases in reference to just salaries and wages because of contractual obligations. That has gone up from last year to 2026.
Yes, so if you look at this sheet, it doesn't specify the contractual obligations. We have to go through and take a look at what specifically is contractual. But this page is a very good summary of your budget. And so you'll see there that there's a comparative of just your salary and wages and other expenses. And then below that, your statutory and deferred charges. Those first three lines are what your general operating budget is. So I would argue that salary and wages are contractual. A majority of your OE increase, so you'll see that the other expenses is going up 1.2 million. Of that 1.2 million, probably 1.15 are those two contractual increases. If you look, the rest of the budget is actually decreasing. You're holding the line where you can, and that's kind of where things are at right now.
It looks like the local tax for municipal purposes is going up though from last year, about 1.4 million, right? We talked about where that came from. So that's right now what we're looking at is about a 9.7 increase. For the borough,
Right.
Not for the school. Do we know the school numbers yet?
I do not.
I don't.
They are probably in the process of finalizing their budget right now. From what I've heard from most schools, they're experiencing the same thing you are. A majority of the schools are in the state health benefit plan. And so they're also experiencing the 36% increase. They have a lot more employees than you do. So that expense is a much bigger number. And the state has given most schools a waiver for that increase. So even though they have a 2% cap on their taxes as well, I would imagine their increase will be closer to 4 or 5%. Not saying that's what Hopatcong's will be. I'm just saying in general what I've heard from other school districts.
So we do know at this point that the county, who has always been very good at holding their budget at 0.9%, 0.8% for the last several years. They're actually coming in with a 4.4% tax rate, which is much higher than it's ever been in Sussex County. And a lot of it has to do with, again, the increases in the health benefits and maintaining the services that they do have throughout the county. So it does appear exactly what Ray is saying, that, you know, this is just something that you can't really avoid almost because it's there. I did reach out for a few towns today, actually, that I knew had finalized their budget, and their numbers are similar to ours in a percentage increase. But one of the most staggering numbers that I found today was Lakewood is going up 54% in taxes.
Yeah.
54%,
Is that school and municipal or just?
just municipal.
So, Ray, my question for you is right now, so this budget is presented in the fact that we're staying within the state health benefits plan. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing. So what is the cost savings for us? Cause I know at the council meeting Wednesday, there's a resolution on to exit the state health benefits plan. So what does that impact look like for us if we were to exit this plan for 2026?
What,
Ron, I'm gonna let you answer that because one of the first things that I tasked Ron with the day that he got here was finding out exactly what was going on with the tipping fees. And then the second thing on his board is, actually the first thing on his board is health benefits. So February 12th, Ron has been immense in health benefits, trying to find a way to help us and save us. So I'm gonna let you do all of that, and Ron.
okay, so I can't take the credit. Judy and Courtney had been working on this. Thing to get out of the state healthcare benefits is to get your broker to start negotiating with other entities. And there's a couple options there. There's local HIFs, and there's to go out on your own and buy insurance just like you buy your car insurance. We go to market with our claims. The HIF denied our application to go in because we had one or two significant high claims and they wouldn't allow us to go in. So the HIF was off the table. I got here on the 12th. I had the broker on the 13th go to open market. We have since got proposals in from other benefit carriers. I spent all last week meeting with each one of the unions because we do have the equal to or better definitions in all our contracts. So we modeled each one of our current contracts that's in the state healthcare and put that out to market. We have that here. I'm hesitant to say because I don't have the union's agreements. They are favorable because we matched as close as we could with the benefit plans. The one thing that is definite, our dental plan came in much lower, and the HIF did allow us to come into that. So the benefit, we're going with Delta Dental, and that has a 6% reduction to it. So to give you some idea that what we're doing, we're trying to bring that number down. So we got 6% out of the dental program. The other thing it does for us, once you have a program in the HIF, it's a little bit easier to get into the HIF with your healthcare next time you want to go in the market. You're already in that. So next year, this time, we'll be able to negotiate to go back into the HIF as well. Additionally, the benefits that we've been given so far, next year we'll be able to go into a negotiation of high deductible plans with an HSA attachment, would even give us a better issue. Right now, it varies. The range is between 6 and 12% reduction in our current healthcare plan with the plans that we've got so far from the providers. And I say that with a caveat. If everybody goes in and the unions shake and we get into we are in negotiations right now. This couldn't be any worse time. So we are solely working on negotiations of the benefit plan to get those locked in because that's very important to everybody. The employees, remember, they pay a premium participation, so they're very interested in paying less for benefits as much as we are. So that is in tune right now. So stay tuned with that. The resolution is on for this meeting to get us out of the healthcare, the state healthcare, assigning VOSA Group as our broker with the HIF, and we will join the HIF with the dental plan, and that's plan one till we finish with the bargaining units.
So that resolution on Wednesday only changes our dental plan
Yeah, but it does take us out of the healthcare for that as well, the state healthcare for that.
for that,
Yeah.
just for dental, but for medical, it will remain with the
Yes,
state health benefit plan for now. So
We are
nothing
planning.
introduction.
This is the plan. What the kid, if the union says, yes, our plan is to have open enrollment July first.
Well, I think the way Ray presented before, he says no matter which kind of program you are, it's between 20 and 38%.
Right.
So it's like you are saving, but not that big with it. I do notice the biggest thing what strikes me on this budget is the federal grants.
Hmm.
Like we haven't done any, and we're not even
Dropped off.
planning on doing any for this year. We're like 80% off.
So grants are kind of a fluid thing throughout the year. You can amend your budget for the grants. So it looks like a big drop off, but throughout the year, you use more grants and you do what's called a chapter 159 amendment to the budget. So as the grants come in, you utilize them. So
No, I get that,
Okay.
but I noticed a trend for past like
Yeah.
few years, grants are getting less and less. And I think internally, we're not as aggressive at chasing grants. I know they're fluid and, on the demand stuff, but I think we have to probably try to look to do a better job chasing grants.
Well, I think both of our grants that we just received at the end of the year, I don't think either one of those are in here.
Yeah, but Steve, to your point, I think we also switched grant writers, right, for that purpose to be more aggressive with.
Yes. But again, that's over $2 million in those grants, but they're not reflected. Because again, we haven't received them to start working with them yet, so we can't file anything on here because we haven't received it yet to start working with it. So what Ray is saying is as we get them throughout the year, because some of the grants that we have applied for, we don't even have the response yet from 2025 or 2025 yet into this year. Once you get them, then you file for the chapter 159 is how it works. So yes, but to Rachel's point, we did hire a new grant writer that is more aggressive. And I know that Ron, we had met with him much earlier and he's been doing a lot of grant writing for us actually for different things and letting us know what is actually out there. Much better than previous.
Just show up one more thing on your chalkboard, that's all. You're good at chasing
Yeah.
grants. I've never said that.
Well, I bought a bigger one.
It may fall off the wall.
Lot going on. There's a lot going.
So I do need to leave, unfortunately. So if you have any questions for me before I do leave.
I thought we pay you till like 8 o'clock.
Can
Some
I,
nights, yes, just not.
Yeah.
Can I ask a
Been putting a-
question in the budget? So I know that I was listening on my way in. I'm sorry I was late. I worked until 6 o'clock. The reconciliations, we don't have an answer about that, right? Like why they haven't been done or how we're gonna get them done because don't they really need to be done in order for us to have a full, complete budget?
So I'm confident in the numbers that support the budget in the AFS. You are in a state review year. They may require you to have bank reconciliations in order to adopt the budget. So we can introduce the budget, but it may hold up the adoption of the budget.
Got it.
Depends on how good of a salesman I am with the state of New Jersey.
And then my second question is that we've been talking a lot about cannabis and passing a cannabis ordinance. And I know last year when I had a conversation with the previous administrator, we hadn't budgeted for it. And I remember last year, Judy put the budget together so beautifully in like 3 weeks because she started the beginning of March and we're like, let's go. So I don't think that the governing body or myself even knew that that's the direction we were going in. But I was asked why we didn't build that into the budget, that money into the budget for last year. So I just want to make sure that there's something in this budget for that for this year.
There is nothing in this budget for cannabis right now. The only way something can be in your budget that wasn't in your budget in the previous year is that you either have a contract for that amount of money or that you've collected that amount of money. I have not seen either of those things related to cannabis.
Well, we have to draft. We have to draft.
So you can't include anything until you have a signed agreement with a company that says you will receive a certain dollar amount.
Then how do we add the money? Like,
So if you get an agreement this year and you collect $50,000 this year, you can budget $50,000 next year.
So we can't budget for the formulation of an ordinance or engineering plans or any of that into a budget.
Well, are you guys talking the same thing? You're talking revenue.
Yeah, that's not
You're
revenue.
talking about spending money
Correct.
on engineers
Correct.
and that's an O&E cost. You guys
Okay,
are
yeah,
two,
I was
you
not
guys
looking
are
at
two opposite ends.
We're talking different languages.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, no,
I'm
I'm
sorry,
not saying
maybe I
fault. You
wasn't
guys
clear.
are going this
I
way.
thought you- I thought you wanted money in the budget from
Right, you're talking about.
cannabis revenue.
Right. You're talking revenue, I'm talking about expenditure. So that was kind of, is there a spot in this budget under engineering services and costs to allow for that to be spent on cannabis?
There should be some money there for services and
I don't know if it's specifically for cannabis. There's engineering cost in here. It goes to anything with the planning board. So that could fall under that category. There's a couple ways with you could put that into the budget. Then it doesn't appear to be cannabis or anything else that we might be working on, it'd be engineering time. So from an expense point of view, yes, you can bake it in here. From a revenue point,
No, not yet.
are
Got it.
dead on. You can't put any more revenue in your budget than you did
Right.
in the
You didn't
previous.
anticipate a revenue like that. Got it.
Wait, I have a.
You'd be
have a
totally guess.
Question. You talked about the fact we need to be careful where, where we try to decrease the budget, but 9.7% increase is not wonderful. So obviously, we'd like to see if we could do some things to help that. What are the levers that we can pull to help reduce the taxes? We talk about paving, we talk about, but that's a capital
There's a-
project, so I don't think it affects the budget dollar for dollar, but where are the areas where you would recommend the council look to try and save dollars for 2025, if any, or for 26, if any?
I really don't have an answer for you.
He can't make those recommendations.
I can't really make those recommendations. And if I knew of something, I would say, oh, I'm not allowed to say it, but I look at your budget, I don't even see anywhere where it would be advisable.
Unfortunately, where majority of municipalities are, county and otherwise, you get down to these levels of things, you talk about levels of service.
Right, no, I agree.
We don't have a deep bench at all.
Right.
So when you talk about reducing employee costs, then that ultimately will reduce healthcare costs. It has a trickle effect. Something's going to get missed.
Mhm.
And that's a tolerance of the board. And that's just something you have to decide as a board. I'll fall on any sword you guys want to put out there, but my phone rings off the hook now. I can't imagine reducing any core for services now. It's only going to get worse.
Well, but I certainly don't want to reduce services, certainly in the important ones. I mean, that's what people are paying taxes for, right? That the services are incredibly important, but and I wasn't meaning specific items to go cut out. It was more like, what general areas. would a town
And that's why I say to
typically
you,
look at?
even as a general area, I don't have, when I spend a lot of time looking at the expenses of your budget. It just,
All right, I get it.
that's a very good way to put it, Judy. It's just not there.
It's not there, right? Well, the
Another
good
thing
I had
for
to
us in our,
I had to
our
reduce
costs this year
40
too was
to
salt.
begin with.
We had a
I'm not
higher
gonna
spike
set
in
it.
salt in our
Right.
O&E.
Yeah.
So we look at
Yeah.
that and you say, okay, how do we
Yes.
budget for that for next year?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's Mother Nature. We've always diced that. That's why you put a salt trust fund in and try to manage those inconsistencies. Unfortunately, that got spent too. So
Well, I'm happy our fund balance is still in good shape.
Yeah, we're
That's
healthy.
very positive. And we don't really have a lot of debt. Last year, we did take on a little debt to help reduce that. And we still have very low debt. Is that potentially something we could consider? Or would you?
So my concern would be I always tell you, you look at your capital and your debt together as one. That's like your long-term strategic plan for capital projects, because those two numbers, you're either paying the cash for it or you're paying debt for it and paying it off. So those two numbers stay together. We reduce the capital cash a little bit, which means at some point the debt part is going to need to come up. So we should be trying to build that. This is not a good year to try and build that back up, right? We're already dealing with a 9% increase. We're not going to put more on top of that.
Right.
So I would, because there was a cut last year, there's no more room to cut there, because we actually need to start trying to build it up a little bit so that we have to pay back our debt. We're ready to pay it off. And we don't have, you don't want to just do the bare minimum, and then have a huge debt payment. We want to try and build into that.
Agreed.
Over time.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had better news for you. This is like my 15th meeting this year where I had to deliver some pretty bad news. And everybody keeps asking, well, what else can we do?
Right.
I wish I had a magic wand.
Don't we all?
Eddie County too, it was only one, they were at 18% when I left in their healthcare increase. But that's a huge dollar. That's on.
Yeah, it was like $6 million.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So in the face of even trying to be lower than the average, they're still looking at a 4.4%
Yeah,
increase.
and just to give you some perspective, in our office, we've seen an 11% increase, a 9% increase, 2 7% increases. So many 5% increases, I can't even keep track. And then maybe a handful in the 2 to 3% range. So even, I mean, it doesn't make it any easier to hear that your taxes are going up 9.74%, but it's not like it's Wapakon specific, it's everywhere.
Well, so just doing math really fast, right? So let's do math really fast. The health insurance increase was $625,000. The tipping fees and increase in garbage was $500,000, plus our contractual 2% that we have to go up with the contractual 2%. That is what's putting us at that 9.74%. Those three things are what's putting us at 9.7. We're not adding any more to the budget to pave more roads or do more parks, which is what we would love to be doing. This is literally health insurance, garbage, and our 2% increase in all of our contracts, correct?
Mhm.
Just want to be sure.
Ray, as always, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ray.
very much, Ray.
So now any questions we have, we'll go to Judy. What do you?
Yeah,
So, okay.
I'll pin it as much as I can.
Thank you, Ray. So Judy, can I flip a question at you?
Absolutely.
When we had the presentation from the Land Conservatory, I know that they had told us in order to qualify for any state funding, because annually we contribute 10,000 as a flat rate to the open space tax. What's that look like? I know they had recommended to going to 0.5%. What's that impact look like for us to be eligible for funding?
Well, when I spoke to Ray previously, and he said normally what we do would be 0.001, that would be about $24,000 for us. If we did 0.002, if we double that. I think your ordinance does allow 0.002, but I don't know how much. I mean, do we have money, do we have space available that we would actually buy certain land, vacant land and things like that? I don't know what you have available in town to do that, so.
Does that also include funding to like maintain open space that we have?
Yeah, that would make us eligible for all the grants. That's really what it does.
It's for maintaining, in fact.
Maintaining
an
and
acquisition.
you're at a level where you can obtain grants for other things, but
Mhm.
you gotta get to that benchmark to get there.
Mhm.
So probably the recommendation would be if you wanted to go from 10, you would go for 24. Ray and I talked about going to a penny. If you wanted to consider that,
Would that open us up for the grant funding?
For that particular area, that's not gonna open up the clouds for any federal grants that we like to look at. So, yeah,
I think
so
Rachel's talking about
that's very
specifically
specific in nature.
the Green Acres,
Green Acre stuff, that kind of stuff.
which they seemed like they were begging to give us money the last one they were here to.
They all do.
I'll do.
Here, please take all of our money, right?
They would love to have all of it.
Yeah, because I guess my thought behind that was even though it's specific to one section, like what would the impact be of raising the open space tax rate to that 0.5% versus the funding that we're now available for to make the improvements to the open space that we do have in the borough type of thing?
I don't think it'd make a big splash by no means. I
Okay.
really don't. I know the conservative people are gonna bring their hatches out, but I don't think it's gonna
Or if
bring.
the 1% is 24, the half is like at 10, so it would be maybe half of 24 would be 12. I don't know if you want to do the half of 12 or you want to do the 1, but
Because we're at what,
You're a quarter.
normally you rate $10,000.
which is 1/4%.
Yes,
And if we were to go to a
Yeah.
0.5%,
it'd be about 12,000.
so it's only $2,000 more than we're raising now,
Yeah, because a penny would be 24,000 based upon our assessed value.
and that would open us up to the grants.
Yes.
Mhm.
And have almost zero impact, $2,000. It would have almost zero impact on the budget.
It's up to you guys.
Does the 0.5% open it up? That would
Yes.
I think it's the
require
0.5%.
Yeah.
That's what the,
One
that's what,
No impact.
that's what the lady told us in the meeting, that 0.5% would bring us
It's 2,000 divided
eligible.
by all the property.
Right.
Really almost. Maybe 10 cents a household, I don't know, give or take.
Judy, are the water and sewer utilities fully self-funded at this point?
For the most part, the water utility, we're just about making it because we had all those leaks and problems last year. And we did have to go out for emergency appropriation. So when that happened, we have to raise it in this year's budget. So we had to find, I think it was maybe about $140,000, but we were able to still, still do it.
But so we were close though, outside of those emergency appropriations, we were close on
Very
water and
close.
sewer.
Very, I mean, so it's been,
Sewer is very good, right?
fine, it's been
Yeah.
the water.
It's been the water, yeah.
On a planned budget, no, they didn't make it. We had to make a emergency appropriation for.
For that, yeah,
For
yeah,
that.
no,
So
no, again,
yeah.
it was fully self-funded, but those emergency appropriations, I mean, I don't know how many water breaks we had last year. Does anybody know that number?
We had several.
Yeah, well, what, in talking to a former DPW supervisor, he said having 10 water breaks in a year actually was not unusual.
We probably had more than 10. We had 2 today.
Okay, all right, so really it was a larger number of breaks, and that was the reason for the emergency appropriation.
No, the emergency appropriation was just one specific leak in one specific area because they kept returning to the same area and they kept having to dig that area up. And the decision was made by John Rushkey that you've got to replace the whole line now because we're spending too much money going in on overtime and whatnot. So that emergency appropriation for the $130,000 actually went into the 2026 budget because we didn't have it in the 2025 budget. And you're allowed to move the emergency appropriation.
So that was specific though to that one
Just that one
particular leak.
street.
All right, so we covered everything else.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. That's good.
But it's
Yeah,
tight. I'm not-
as soon as you pass,
No real fund balance in the water
hardware
budget,
store.
as you see in our budget.
Go around the
It's-
sharp
yeah.
turn. it's-
Well, how do the rate increases, or how do the
It's a
rates
C,
get
I
up?
know that.
How do the rates
Can't think of
get-
it.
I keep wanting to say.
That
Coolidge,
actual,
but it's not.
It's not cold. I feel like it's coldy.
We haven't.
Well, we need to do that. That's what's add that to the list.
We've been talking about that, Ron and I.
Yeah.
Ron,
Yes, sir.
can you also look into when we spoke last year regarding the lease program from a car rental?
Mhm.
We were told that we're gonna save money on maintenance, we're going to have new vehicles, and I don't think the conversation ever came up to like spend $1 million on it. And then there's a line item that says that we're going to spend $185,000 for a vehicle maintenance.
What page are you on?
15, eh?
So that was,
That's the vehicle that we have already, not new. That's the vehicle that we already have within town.
So 185, but then there's other, like, other vehicle maintenance and part of like the fire department, like
Right.
different, but so overall, like, I'd like you to look at it, see like what the cost, because I'm not really 100% sold on shared services yet, because there's like a line item for municipal court, $160,000. I thought we were supposed to save money on that, not spend money, so.
was that for the court?
That's what it says.
For the court, yeah, that's what we take to use,
Right, but when we had court, they were paying us.
Yeah. What's that?
When we had the court system, they were paying us.
I know, but
And
now we're using somebody else's stuff.
Right, but when we were sold, we were supposed to save money, not spend money. That was the idea.
We had asked, we had asked that question previously to another administrator who was here, and he said even with what we're paying, it still is a cost savings versus what we were paying when we were housing everything
Right.
here.
We had to pay the
We had to pay
prosecutor,
salaries
the judge, and we had to pay,
benefits.
yeah.
I'm
We don't-
not so sure, because we went through the same thing with the fire department, fire marshal office, and, we're spending, then we lost services, and then we're charging, we didn't charge, so we lost services. So, and now we're back to fire marshal and fire officer, and so money's gonna start coming back in there, but we lost a lot of in between go around, so.
He's done more already than we did all last year, so
Right.
so.
But that goes to my point, like, I think we do these things that we really don't do analysis on or see what it's gonna cost us, or like.
Pete, let me go through my files. I saw an old file. I'm trying to buy all the old and create the new, but there was a court analysis on all of that with the employee headcount, benefits. Take your salary and wage, calculate about 50%, 58% on top of that. That's the total cost for that. You had the judge and you had operations. So whatever that was more than 160, but I'll find out what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it would be nice to have at least, like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we did it, and it kind, because we asked a couple of questions last year, and we never got any kind of backup on, for those things, so it will help us to say, okay, this makes sense, with the choices we made.
Can I go back to your vehicle maintenance? Were you asking to have a total of all the vehicle maintenance in all the different areas?
Well, I think,
Or all the different departments for?
no, the way I recall the conversation with a rental is, like they were supposed to provide 4 to 6 vehicles, I think annually.
Okay,
4 to 6 vehicles, and those were supposed to be maintained, and they take it off the grid. The remaining, I guess, that's the remaining stuff that we have throughout the borough, and it's still very expensive. I mean, $200,000 just for names, that's.
Because you're looking at all the other stuff like triaxle dump trucks, mason dumps, that type of thing. That's not under enterprise.
Yeah, no, I get that, but we have a lot of mechanics in town who work for DPW and stuff like that, so that they, and we pay them and stuff like that, so I'd like to see like, where's that money? Like, is it going to outside services or is it like in-house?
Both.
Well, good to know, it's going outside services.
Which,
The construction and land use, those costs are subsidized by the fees that the town charges, right? Are they supposed to be fully funded by the fees that we charge?
Judy, you gotta answer
They
that one.
should be, but they're not. And my understanding from when Shelby was here, I thought she said she was talking to the law firm about doing what, to increase those fees, but I don't. know where
we
that's
just,
at.
we just started increasing
Yeah.
those fees.
That was the last wave of ordinances that went through to increase all. of
Yeah.
it.
That was definitely a discussion from
Yeah.
before, though. We're increasing.
So do we feel based on those fees that we raised, that that's going to cover the cost for 26 or?
I don't know that analysis.
Anybody do the
happened,
math?
but Not on that portion of it. What we did was what the market value around us was, and we were below that.
Right.
So we got up to the market value. Now, what that does to cover these so-called fees of that, I'm not sure.
Well,
I thought
maybe once
uniform code was up though. Our fees for uniform code was up.
They weren't raised, but I think we had, the fees themselves weren't raised, but I think we had increase
We did.
in revenue.
We made more this last year than we.
Well, because there's more construction going on, right?
That's one department that is as busy as any of them, and
Yeah.
it's most constrained.
Well, I think it'd be good, once we get through the budget, as we move into the middle of the year, maybe we can take a look and do the math on that and make sure that, we don't want to be actually way off of the market, obviously, but
Right.
we do want to make sure that it's not a, extremely large cost to the town for that.
Well, we have to be every year required to do a UCC report to the state. And that's why I made the recommendation, because the fees were so low, they weren't covered.
Yeah.
So that's how we really tell that, because you're really allowed to allocate health benefits, fringe benefits, all that stuff.
Right.
And we weren't really covering that. That's why we recommended the increase.
Right.
Just like the
Yeah, we-
fire marshal should be
take a look at
self-funding as
that.
one,
Yep.
as well.
All right, thank you.
The skate park maintenance, I know several years back, it was agreed upon that the borough would allocate
$30,000 a year.
30,000 annually.
Yep.
I don't see it in here. Am I missing it on the line item? I just don't want that to fall through.
For maintenance, you mean on the state park?
Yeah,
Yes.
I've never seen it as a separate line item.
Probably
The part of recreation only.
Probably
recreation,
comes out of the general budget.
general money.
No, I actually, well, I guess building the ground was general budget. I don't think I've ever saw it separate line item.
yeah, that's 100,000 for buildings.
Yeah,
So is that all together or is that something like?
that's all in.
That's all
That's
together.
all together?
You just have to find out what line that, I'll find out if it's in there.
okay.
And again, the skate park, we just had renovated because we had the $76,000 grant to renovate the skate park. That's only just reopened.
Yeah, and to be completely honest, like they did not do a good job on that at all. That what they had done was a complete botch job. I mean, the skaters and their families were absolutely furious and I mean, it was embarrassing to go over there and see the work that was done. It got fixed, but
Well, the unfortunate thing is $76,000 doesn't go very far with things. When we have our grants that we receive, when we do projects, we do prevailing wage for everything we have to. So we're limited sometimes on what we can and cannot get.
Ron, just a general process question, because I can't remember. Once the budget is introduced, we're still able to make changes until the final adoption, or once we introduce, we can't make any additional changes?
Well, normally what happens when you usually introduce an approval at the same time.
Mhm.
That's what normally happens, so I would suggest that you look at all the make some changes before that. Otherwise, you're delaying the time and you really want to be done by May,
Right.
because people are asking me for money left and right, and I'm saying no.
Well, no, Ray's given
Tell
us,
them no.
Ray's given us a pretty tight schedule of what we have
Yeah.
to work with. So what we've done is, we have the meeting this evening for the budget. We have the ability within the council meeting on Wednesday, when we get to, new business, if you wanted to do a budget discussion, we can do a budget discussion that day. We're asking that if we haven't finished the budget by Wednesday, that we meet again on Thursday and have another meeting Thursday to do that. And then have everything hopefully done either Thursday, but if we need to do Friday, we'll come back on Friday and do it Friday.
So all these questions that we had is, Ron, are you gonna be able to like take out the streets for paving, take those values out? Get answers on the cars and everything. If you keep telling them no for another year, does that mean we have to do a budget if we keep telling them no for the money?
Yeah, we're out of temporary budget, Steve, so the pond is dry.
Because I've done several temporary budgets, because what I like to do is, I don't want departments to think, well, I have all this money. Because otherwise you just keep on spending.
Yeah, I think I think if you come up with like those, you know.
Let me attack the operating side first. Your capital budget is not gonna affect you. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's just a matter of making sure we have everything on the inventory. As far as your O&E and all those other expenses that's raising this budget, it's not gonna have an effect on that, so, or very little. So we can take those out. I'm gonna start on the O&E questions first. And that way you can look at the individual budget and see what the impact of that is and answer those questions. I'll email those out to everyone.
And I guess the reconciliation status, right? Because Ray said we cannot formally adopt until we have all that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thing with the capital, with some of the streets, if you don't want to do that, that would reduce the down payment.
Well, again, I think Ron's gonna reach out to John Rushby and
And these, the capital requests.
Mhm.
I had requested those,
They're in there.
the requests from the department heads.
Everything is in here.
Everything's in.
I didn't change anything. Whatever they gave me is in here.
So whatever they requested is in this budget.
Yes.
So my question becomes. So then we have to go through and pare the capital budget down.
I'll take care of that.
You can if you want, but whatever they requested, that's what I started full. I put everything in here.
So then my next question is I do not see the fire department in here.
Because they didn't ask for anything. What happened was they got everything last year and they really didn't buy anything. They had a lot of money left in all the ordinances, so I had Wade use all of those older ones. And all the current, the ones from last year had virtually not been touched.
So they didn't need any capital this year.
they didn't ask for any capital.
They had plenty from last year. I made him use all the different ordinances. So that was good, I don't know.
I think that's great.
But
Because the ordinances are money that has been set aside
they decided.
for each department to use.
And
Can we do that for all the departments?
Well, I like to try to.
Yeah,
Can we?
you have to repurpose it and pick out what other projects you want
Well,
to
no,
do.
no, no. Well, they would.
It's like paving. So you got certain roads you want to pave. Do you want to repurpose those old ordinances to something else to pave?
But you have to use it for paving.
You gotta
Well,
use
yeah.
it for paving.
But I mean, the ordinances that are out there that have been set up for the departments,
Mhm.
that they haven't used it.
Mhm.
Can we have them use it for those things that are in the ordinances that the ordinance has been passed for? Because that's money that's already been set aside, right?
Right.
Or do we bring it back and say, hey, listen, You asked for $40,000 for a new roof. I'm just, right, $40,000 for a new roof. You don't need a new roof. You haven't used the money. Can we bring it back? Figure out what you want to use that $40,000 and then bring it back to this governing body and we redo the ordinance on something that you're gonna use. And then my other question is, and I don't know about the technicality of this, is there a time limit that people have to use that money that's been set aside in those ordinances? And if there's not, can we?
Well, most ordinance don't like to see ordinances over 5 years, and we've had some of that,
Oh, I know.
you know?
Yes.
And then we have some that have small balances, and I'd like to cancel and bring that cash back up to capital. So I would run that with Ron, and then ones that do have some money in them, they could be repurposed for another purpose if we want to do that. There was a process, but.
The global answer to that is yes.
Because we can give the directive to Judy, hey, listen, we would like for you to have all these departments that have all this money that's been outstanding for X amount of years to either spend it or come back to us with a different purpose. And then we pass a new ordinance and then we can tell them that has to be spent this year.
No, exactly, right.
It's
You can tell them
usually-
that? Okay,
It's
perfect.
usually after 3 years, you will start repurposing if you don't need it. Like if you approve the roof for repair and you don't need it, why'd you approve for the roof?
Right, but
You know?
now you don't need a roof,
Yeah,
or you
then
got it
fine.
for free, you got the service for free from a volunteer, and now we're gonna take that $40,000
Sometimes
and
have
you're gonna,
grant money coming in, you
Offset it, right.
Right.
right, okay.
Did you have any capital requests? Like, well, so let me backtrack, hold on. Last year's budget discussion, I know, we had cut a capital request from the administrator for the purpose of updating all the speakers in here, so like these actually work and people can hear us in the back. But I know we're also, like, we haven't gotten the answer yet as to the PEG grant payments, if we've started getting that yet to fund the speaker project. That was an agreement of the Optimum contract. Upon execution of the contract, we were supposed to be funded an initial allocated payment for PEG grant funding for the borough. It was a technology upgrade that we're supposed to be paid. And that was set, the payment disbursement was set over however many years, but I wasn't sure if there was any plans to update the speaker system in here.
That right now, new,
Okay,
that peg rig, that was in 23, correct?
We just passed the
no, we
ordinance.
just, well,
We
the
passed the
recent
ordinance
update was the name
naming.
change, yes, but the agreement, which we hadn't received any funding yet for, was the initial agreement to lock us in for another, I believe it was a 10-year program with them.
Yes.
So we're waiting on the status of that PEG grant funding to be paid out, the initial payment for that. And I don't remember how many years it was supposed to go across. But I think the intention with that is that funding can be used for any technology upgrades within the borough. And I think one of them that we had soft circled was the whole speaker system in here. So everybody could hear us through the microphones and getting a new camera system on for live streaming meetings and all that stuff.
We can look into, I can give you the person for the Optimum that we've been dealing with the questions back and forth, because I know with the 10 years that she's talking about is a franchise bid. So that's just what the franchise contract is just what we did with them for the last 10 years. So the PEG payments was something that Greg, when he first got here, was working on for us, and I knew that there was issues that were coming from that, so I can give you the contact and maybe you can. Because as of right now, we don't have an answer from them.
All right, got it.
Does anybody else have any questions for Ron before we meet again about the budget?
So sorry, go ahead.
It's fluent, guys. My email's on all the time, so if you've got a question, send it to me. Send it to me and Judy, please, because it's.
Two things. Can we talk LoSAP really quick? I know I had sent the question about the ordinance that we passed and regarding the language in there reference the local finance notice 2026-2 and how the maximum in that, I guess, didn't match the maximum in the ordinance. And then Judy had explained why. I guess it's council past practice to go back a year, right?
It's always a year behind.
It's always you're in arrears,
Yeah.
Okay.
so you're
But it-
always paying last year's rate.
Right, so even though we reference the 2026 local finance notice and the rates differ, should it say the 2025 local finance then in the ordinance? I mean, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and budget appropriately for the cost of that and the tax point reduction.
Well, the tax point is more or less the same because our assessed value didn't go up that much from year to year.
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of that on that local finance, those were just a year behind. So if you want to change that, you have to change the ordinance. But I went back, way back in time, and it was always done that way.
That makes sense because we're filing for LoSAP now for 2025, so we would use the 2025 rates.
It's always a year behind because.
So every year behind.
That
So
makes
you
sense
want
now, the
to-
way that you said it, it makes sense.
No, right, but I guess then like,
You're worried about the wording
Yeah.
in the ordinance.
well, the wording of the ordinance, yes, and then the reduction from 1.5 tax points to 1 tax point in the ordinance.
Yeah, I don't know where the 1% came in. They voted for 1.5, but we're never going to exceed that. We're never going to come up to that. So the value is what they budget for. It's more than enough. It's not like a question like it's not. I don't think they even hit 100
Mhm.
between
We have
both
enough in the
organizations.
budget, it's a matter of whether or not you want to be at the max.
Yeah,
That's all it-
and you can
all
put
it
whatever
is.
the number you want in there. You're not hitting that number anyway.
No. So, you know.
So it's just matter of, you know, you'll be diluting the budget numbers then. If you're using some numbers that makes no sense.
I think the bigger thing is to get the cash reconciliations
Oh, yeah.
done.
Mhm.
If you get that done, so we know what the impact of that is. I'll get your questions on the maintenance and the trucks and the stuff like that, pull all the capital out, pick grants. I'll do my best before this budget's struck, but that sounds like that's been a long-term issue. I don't know. I gotta look into it.
Yeah,
Water rates, that's something down the road, skate park, grants and roads off,
And the
so
construction fees.
construction fees.
They were actually
That-
putting something together.
We can do that later. It's
That-
not
that's
gonna
a
affect
good-
what we're doing right now.
That's a
That's
good
not
self-look and self-audit of where we're at with expenses versus what the fee coming in.
We prepare for next year.
Yeah, do it on a quarterly basis maybe and be ready for the next round.
Exactly.
And also, we will have for our budget coming in next year is the money that's coming in from the Airbnbs, the short-term rentals that
Raffles.
yes, that Shawna and Courtney were working on to where now that 3% is 3%, no matter how many times that facility turns over. If they turn over 3 times in a week or 4 times in a week, it's 3% of every single time they turn over. So that's something new as a revenue source for us that we'll have for 2026. But we can't obviously put it in the budget.
Apparently not.
That's the good news for next year.
Yeah.
I'm guessing game.
But we also have the sale of the lands, right?
That's another thing. Ron has been here 2 months and we've already sold just under $20,000 working on
And then
more,
some of the
so.
Mariners Point comes to full assessed value. But that's,
Now, that leads me into like, how much more land do we have available to sell? Because
Lots.
eventually, we're
Lots.
gonna start selling Hudson Gulf property.
Yeah, well, we can't sell it to real property, but
That's
we
worse.
do have a lot of properties and what we're trying to do is Ron, as he has time, is going with the tax assessor and we're looking at lots that are possible lots that could be combined to be a buildable lot. So we can have it be a little bit more advantageous because the really good properties are gone. But the other thing that we're trying to communicate to the public is sometimes the public wants to put an addition on their house. They might want to put a garage somewhere. If they purchase property that touches their property, it now encompasses, a larger scale. So their floor to air ratio alters to now that they have a bigger piece where they couldn't do something to build up or go out. Now they can if they're purchasing something next to them. We've been encouraging people as we're out talking to people and they see us walking around that, hey, are you interested in buying this? Because, if you have problems with your septic, if you have, you're trying to put an addition on, instead of people moving, we want them to invest the money here in Hilltop.
So you got another property on Wednesday night for the first reading. But also what I'm doing as well, I'm taking the RIMS list that has the identification of all the properties we can foreclose on. I'm doing a little bit closer. I'm doing a totally new look at that
Bless you.
because I'm looking at properties that are on that RIM list. If we foreclose on it, it's just another big rock. Why do we go through the process of doing those properties when I may have other properties that I can enjoin to make it conforming? Or it may be a house that maybe be able to be repurposed. So before it was just block and lot and it had a date to it and off it went. So we have 42 properties on the RIMS list right now going in for foreclosure. I'm telling the attorneys, don't waste your time on this one. I'm not gonna sell that. I couldn't give the rock away, much less sell it. So I'm getting those properties that make good marketing sense to either combined or it stands on its own versus just randomly
Do
foreclosing.
you have any idea how many of those properties that are in foreclosure are buildable or already
Not
have a
yet, I
house on them?
No, and I know there's another 100 plus properties that aren't on the RIM list yet that could go. So when you say how many properties, we've got a ton, we got a bunch.
Well, I think eventually we're gonna start running out, right?
We will,
And
I
that's
hope
why
so, I
think-
hope so. I
I
hope
think-
we run out and we've sold them all, as many as we
It's
can.
actually fairly rare for a municipality to have property that's actually still available. If you talk to other council people in other towns, they'll tell you they don't have available property to sell in their towns. Because most of them have sold off the properties because again, it's property that we necessarily don't need and we want to get it off the rut as best as we can. So that it's not something that encompasses, expense or we do have issues too, where we'll get phone calls from residents that'll say, there's a municipal owned lot next door to me. And, there's a tree that came down and it's on my property. So, okay, we have to go out. We have DPW, they have to go out, they have to cut it, and they have to just throw the tree back on our property, but we do have a lot of that happens. So if we didn't have it and it was somebody else's responsibility, we wouldn't have that to deal with anymore either. So there are sometimes when, that it's intrusive. Same thing with the fire lanes. We've talked about the fire lanes, many times about fire lanes that we don't need and how they can be absorbed, by the neighbors that are on each side, just to get them off so that we're not looking at them going, do we need this fire lane? Because we've done that now for decades.
A lot of them are not usable. I think there was a report issue like 4 years ago. The town has, I don't know what they've
Yes.
done with that, but I think between running out of properties, I think cannabis revenue would be helpful. I think Airbnb revenue would be helpful. I think with all these increasing stuff, that's the only way you kind of balance things out a little bit. Which would be helpful.
Let's see.
So you're 1.7?
Yes, so to give you an understanding, this is not all inclusive. But a good measurement that I use, when I'm looking at this, go to page 3. You have what they call the rut.
Big
Page
one.
3. I know what it is, but where's the line?
It's page 3, line 3. This one?
Great. Page 3, line 3.
Okay, 1.7 million. That's in our budget. A large portion of that are the properties that we own. You're funding the taxes that we're not getting on it.
1.7.
There you go. So every time we sell one of those, we nibble away at that line item. Plus, it gets back on the books for taxation levelization for everybody in the borough. Remember, valuations are done by the total population of the borough. You take a property and get it back on the tax board, what did you just do? You just spread it one more.
Now, does that include also parks and everything or just the land itself?
Just for sale.
It just,
Not stuff, not property, I'm sorry, Ron, not property that we own. We've already pulled it out of
Yeah.
there.
there you go.
That's a lot of money.
And the green acres and
About it.
whatnot, that's all
8%
out of there.
Yeah, those things that are statutory, I say statutory, I don't want to say, it's things that like your firehouses, this building, pump houses, the parks. Those things, those are natural area preserve. We will never touch the natural area preserve. It's large. So we don't have properties in there that we'll sell because by ordinance, they're in that zone. So that will always be there.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Ron?
Well, I guess just the one thing is, what's the consensus amongst council for the open space change?
I don't think we can, if you wanted to conservatively move it up, you can move it up to the half of the cent is what you were.
I think
You
it's
and Ray were
a good
recommending.
idea.
I think it's a great idea if it opens it up to more grant
If
money.
it helps us get grants, it's worth it.
Yep.
Right.
I think.
I agree.
it's Up and worth any kind of grant that we could get. Because I know in the past we've been heavy in grants, over the past few years, I think we've been falling short on that, I believe.
A lot of that too, Steve, was PFAS. as well. We put a lot of filters in. And fortunately, we got grant money to do that. It was an unfortunate circumstance. A lot
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
get it.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to open to the public?
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion is open to the public for anything and everything that is on and off the budget.
Why not? Just curious. I'm retired, but before I retired, my company didn't think twice about raising my premium from $30 to $99 this year every month for my benefits. They also took my $20 copay and made it a $50 copay. So why is none of this happening in our healthcare service? And second, I retired because my company was having a massive layoff. And me being a nice person, I didn't want someone younger than me affected in my group. So I withdrew my income from the pool. So why aren't we laying off people? Why aren't we going bare minimum down to the quick? You work extra hours, you put in extra time, and they didn't replace me. I hired 89 people. Now my 4 coworkers now have to take my 89 hires and divide it up amongst themselves and figure out how to match it. So where are the cuts? Where are the cuts to the premiums? Where are the cuts to your contributions? Where are the cuts to the head count? Why do we need all these people? Why? Why can't we run it like a corporation? Corporations have layoffs. Send an email like Oracle did to 30,000 people at 6 o'clock in the morning and shut them down 5 minutes later. But we talk, let's hire a new person. Let's add a new car. Let's add this. I don't hear any of you saying, let's look at who we have employed and where we can make some cuts. And I'm not saying it's the nicest thing to do, but this town's in survival mode. A 9.5% increase after last year's 9.5% increase. I don't understand. Why is every company out there allowed to raise their benefits, their premiums, their contributions of the employees, but we're still sitting at, what's our copay, $5 to the people who have our benefits plan, $10, whatever it is, it's nominal. That's why we have such a high cost. So let's just run this town like a business would run the town. You're a business owner. Why haven't you made these suggestions? Your company's suffering? You ever have a layoff?
No.
Well, bless your company for making that much money, sir. We're not in that situation, and I'm furious that no one's thinking out of the box saying, now's not a time to get a new police car. Now is not the time to hire a new kennel clerk, that the shelter was supposed to bring revenue into the borough, yet we have to hire people to run the shelter. I'm totally baffled. All we're doing is going flatline. Nobody's saying we have an extra clerk we can get rid of. We have 3 zoning officers. Well, maybe one has to go. And unfortunately, this is dire straits in this town, but you're all nodding your head saying, yep, these people can afford a 9.5% increase in this town.
I don't think anybody.
Can't happen. I don't hear it. I don't hear one cut. I haven't heard you say one thing about personnel. I haven't heard you say one thing about raising fees. I haven't heard anything about increasing the health plan deductibles. Nothing. Think outside the box. Maybe somebody here will think we're overextended and we need to make cuts. And as painful as cuts are, they have to happen for this town to survive. But I haven't heard you say one thing about what you can cut. All I can hear is we have to keep this and we have to keep this and we have to keep this. If you didn't use a $40,000 allotment that was given to you in a budget, then you don't deserve that $40,000. Give it back. Somebody else needs it in this company, in this town, whatever it is. But nothing. All I'm hearing is status quo. Oh, 9% increase. Well, the county's going up 4.5 and the schools are going up. That's a 20% overall increase in our taxes. Year 2.
They're not added.
Year 2.
They're not additive. The numbers are not additive. There's not.
I add it together because I take the town increase and the county increase and the school increase and it goes into my pool.
I understand, but
So-
it's not, I just want to make sure that nobody's under the illusion that there's going to be a 20% tax increase that doesn't,
Add the numbers.
you don't add them in that manner, okay? So
Okay, so
the
if the
fact-
county goes up 4.5% and the schools go up 4% and the town goes up 9.5%, what's the overall tax burden to the community?
We'd have to do the math, but if.
What would be,
but
I'm
using-
asking you,
using-
how do you take those numbers?
What I-
Give me the
What
number.
I will tell you is using those numbers, it will be less in the overall than a 9.7% increase because it averages out, okay? So
Last year it averaged out to 9.5.
there's, yes, it did, and we started at 12 point something last year.
And I don't think it was that high. I don't
Yes,
recall it
we-
being
we
that
sure
high at the
said
last budget meeting.
11.5.
All I'm saying is, start thinking about cutting some fat in this town now,
The
now.
town, Ms. Ritchie, the town, one of the things here, all of us here, see how the town operates, and we are very concerned with services. We do run very lean. Even though there are some areas that we potentially could do some things, and we talked a little bit about it here in terms of utility fees, right? As well as land and construction fees, that's where we're talking about cutting out expense and raising some income, okay? But we are very lean in terms of how we operate. The town does operate fairly efficiently, so there's not a lot of fat to go cut. Believe me, if there was, all of us.
No, I believe, dig deeper. I voted you all in to dig as deep as you have to dig. And I'm sorry, if it gets to the grave level, I expect you to get to the grave level. But I don't expect status quo bobbleheads up there going, oh, yeah, 9.5%. Oh, yeah.
Lynn,
That's all. I'm
just-
done.
just-
No, I'm
just-
done.
Look, I
And
just-
thank you for speaking up at this meeting. I'm very happy that for the first meeting I've attended, you're actually on target and talking on the benefit of the town.
Lynn, just so you know, I've volunteered in this town for 25 years, okay? Because I don't want I'm a taxpayer just like everybody else here. Me and Joe are the only one that don't take the salary from council because I want to contribute whatever I can, whatever I can.
But that's your
So,
choice,
to
and
me,
nobody says it. For,
like,
if I was getting paid
I don't know what the
2,200, who are you giving the money back to? All I know is,
So
I don't see
I'm
any
not the speaker,
cost-cutting
I want you-
measures
we're
here.
Trying to cut the budget. That's the reason why we're discussing this.
Right.
We're all
What have you
taxpayers.
cut? You've cut nothing.
We're trying to.
You cut nothing. You've cut nothing. All I've heard is, we can't cut this, we can't cut that, we can't cut this, we're at bare minimum for this, but let's add a police car, let's add this, let's do this. Oh, we've got budget, we've got businesses, the fire didn't use their money. Why'd they ask for $40,000 and they didn't use the money? If you're not gonna use the money, you give the money back to the town, and then the next time you need the money, you come begging.
I don't think that
So-
there's another case where.
I'm just using it as an example. I don't know if that's the truth, but you don't use your budget, give it back.
No, you're right. Well, not-
Give it back.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing anything, motion to bring it back.
Motion. Second.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for showing up tonight, Joe.
Got it.
Second, was there a second?
Yeah. I thought you said outside, but that's for the vote.